Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Once again, it's another brand new episode of Eddie G's Comic Culture, and I am your host, Eddie G, bringing it to you live and direct as I only can. Once again, thanking all of you guys for riding out on this show with me. If you guys are just tuning in for the first time, and you're not familiar or aware of what I do, usually every episode I discuss a lot of things that span from comic books, movies, comic book movies, music as well, and films. All sorts of ordeals from pop culture that extends from the 70s up until now present. So basically, I always usually start off every episode of my show with shout outs. First and foremost, the show is still sponsored by the good folks over at Black Apparel. Make sure you guys check out their website at www.blackapparelblk.com. They've got some awesome merchandise and content for you guys to check out. I know the holidays are coming up. Hell, it's an even perfect time. I believe it's an opportunity today with Black Friday. So make sure, in case you guys got some extra ducats you want to spend, check out their website and see what they got. Also, of course, giving of course to my friends over on Instagram, the one and only Strictly Comedy Vault. Brandon is his name. He's a young up and coming writer. He always keeps his page refreshed with awesome content as well. Make sure you guys check it out. He's got some pretty good stuff regarding Funko Pop figures as well as comic books. Believe me, the guy he's really great with it. The photography that he does is pretty extensive, guys. Next up is Blu-ray Dan, who also has an Instagram page and as well also has a YouTube channel, who also serves a great inspiration to me as well. He basically has some pretty awesome stuff on his channel. Basically, he does a lot of reviews and unboxings for Ultra 4K movies on Blu-ray, for both old and new. So it's definitely worth checking out. Make sure you do that. And last but not least, a good friend of mine, Dennis Knight from New York, who is a writer of the Cross comic published on the indie label Pronto Comics. His work is also all he's got to. I know I've been telling you guys over and over again that I'm going to get the website name for you guys to get the comics from. I've just been life's been a little hectic as of recently, but definitely when I have that information, I will post it up. I posted up his booth location during the New York Comic Con. So definitely, guys, you can count on me to get you that to get you the 411 on that soon enough. So, first and foremost, happy Thanksgiving to every one of you guys. I hope you guys all had a great one, surrounded with loved ones and family. I'm hoping that you guys definitely ate to a point of paralyzation. I know I did. But definitely, man, and make sure, as long as you guys realize you are going to have to hit the gym to go ahead and burn off some of those calories. I know it's getting cold up north. But no excuses. But no, man, just shooting around, just bullshitting around with you guys. I'm starting off this episode today. As I wanted to go ahead and discuss in detail. I read an actual article regarding Todd McFarland talking about the new Spawn reboot that he's got coming up. He's been having this movie in the works for a while now. So. Any news is actually at this point either welcome or I guess comedic, I guess you could say, because of the extensive the outline that he's got set up for what he wants for this movie to happen seems a little too far fetched for my taste. Well, actually, in all honesty, it really is a little. It's a lot of far fetched to be for my taste. I don't know if you guys remember the 1997 feature film Spawn, which starred Michael J. White and John Leguizamo. Um, mm, if you were fans of the original comic, Spawn was a superhero that actually erupted during the 90s, during the Image era. He was created by the one and only Todd McFarlane, mind you. And he was a really huge character. He had a successful run. Basically, he was murdered at some point and he was resurrected as an warrior of some sort from the depths of hell. And unfortunately, he's tormented from seeing his wife, having to watch his wife move on in her life without him. And even though he's got these awesome powers, pretty much, I guess you could say, it's kind of like it's been hard. It's been such a long time since I've read a Spawn comic book, to be honest with you guys. I know I started rewatching the animated series, the one from HBO, because it's actually streaming on Amazon Prime right now. But even that was a while ago, and I had that got interrupted with all the other shows that I had to catch up on. But definitely, it was an awesome show. It definitely, it was a huge comic book. Like I said before, it spawned an awesome animated, adults only animated TV show that aired on HBO, I believe, on Friday nights. And Keith David, who was awesome, actually, as the voice of Spawn, was amazing. It was just a crazy off the wall type of show. It was definitely something out of the heavy metal era, I guess you could say. It stretched the boundaries of accepting what was cool for adult animation then, and it opened a lot of doors. And then, of course, we had the live action film that was released 20 years ago, actually, in 1997, the Spawn feature, which starred Michael J. White and John Leguizamo. It was alright. It wasn't a big. Well, honestly speaking, the movie kind of sucked. Let's just be real about it. They made they try to they gave Spawn a Hollywood treatment when realistically speaking, like the character himself really isn't a big appeals to the I mean, he was kind of like the same way Deadpool has a success as an R-rated feature is the way Spawn should have had that sort of exposure out there because he was basically an adult oriented character. He really wasn't aimed towards young children. It wasn't like a character that you could go ahead that children were more so influenced to pick up. I mean, although they did, I know they did, but they just it wasn't aimed for them. It wasn't it wasn't aimed towards children. So it was a difficult, of course, it was a difficult sell to try to make a big budget feature like Spawn to be as adult oriented as it was in the source material as well as the HBO show that was being aired at that time. So excuse me. So with that being said, the end result it came up to be something that was a PG-13 movie, which really couldn't do much regarding the content of the character because of what the limitations of the rating system the ratings that it got. So at this point, it didn't stick well with quite a few people. They took a big hit off of that. If I'm not mistaken, New Line Cinema also took a big hit off of that, and it left the life of Spawn on in cinema in limbo, so to speak, or for lack of a better word. So a lot of things have been happening with that behind the scenes. There's been a lot of projects, scraps, outlines and storyline, storyboards, so on and so forth, that were pretty much just just to say, the movie was pretty much in development hell, so to speak. So now finally, he has a new studio that's willing to take the distribution from it, which is Bloomhouse, and I forgot what was the name of the other one. It's the studios that's responsible now for Get Out and the Annabelle features as well, so on and so forth. Now, with that being said, the reason why he went towards such a small known studio, which is pretty, I thought was pretty admirable in that sense. In a sense, the only reason for that I find that it was a little admirable was the fact that he wanted no studio interference with the film's process, and that's cool. I get it. I dig that. That makes sense. And this way, it doesn't have too many spoons in the pot. However, with that being said, when I read the exact amount of money that's being used as the budget for this movie, now it looks bad. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to sound like a real big jerk about it, but the first of all, the budget is pretty much anywhere from $10 to $12 million. That's not a lot of money. It's not. It's really not a lot of money. That's really cutting, And every time I see that, the crazy thing is that every time I hear about that and I think about that price of the price tag of what the movie is, what it's going to cost to make, the only thing that comes to mind is Superman 4: The Quest for Peace is one of the most the most underfunded superhero film of all time, and it looks like this one is up next to be at bat. Now don't get me wrong, I know computer animation has definitely made a big jump from back then till now. But, when you really factor in other things and then you have movies like Batman, so to speak, Batman doesn't require any kind of any kind of realism, like any kind of computer animation to an extent, like Spawn does, and yet it still breaks that $100 million budget. Like it needs that kind of money, and then to top it off, it's still gonna have to be he still, McFarlane wants like a, wants like still wants the New York setting for the film, and that's just another thing too. I know you're not gonna be able. I know he's not gonna be able to film the movie in New York City, considering the fact that the budget is that small. So he's taking a hell of a big risk, and a hell of a big risk for a property that pretty much launched his career, if I may say so myself. Because I know, I know for the fact that he's done a lot of work with the Amazing Spider-Man, with the Spider-Man books back in the days, but Spawn was really what pushed him into the spotlight like that, and actually, made him that well known. So it made him who he is to this, the man that he is today. So with that being said, I would expect a little bit more, TLC involved in the project, So I'm sorry, 12 million. It really doesn't really sound like it's a lot of elbow room for him to create something really epic, the way he wants to. So I know he's actually looking at an angle for it as a horror movie now, which is a little interesting. It's not that's a nice little twist, and that's cool. But as I said before, like it would definitely, like, I know it would work. I know, and it's not that I think it. I know it would work in his favor, and it would work in his best interest to expand the budget on that a little bit more. He doesn't have to film in New York City, and he doesn't have to cast any known actors. And at that point, in that point where he can just go ahead and get somebody that some people, some actors that are relatively unknown, and that'll take the project seriously for him to bring that vision to life. So with that being said, I think he should really really take a step back, because I know he's actually gung ho to filming this movie. It's pretty close to filming production time already, from what they're saying. Like, it's supposed to start filming early next year, and we're already at the end of November. So, you know, was that we're talking about January, February, which I don't know how that's possible. But even then, like with the budget in itself, it's just like, as I said before, man. Like, what are we supposed to look at when we look at Spawn? Like, that means that we're not gonna get an even decent shot of him in the movie, which sucks. It makes no sense. I think that in itself just it's playing with fire, and it's kind of like not really taking the property seriously at that sense. In that sense, I know it's trying something new, and I can applaud him for that. But seriously, like, the approach of it all has to definitely. I think he really needs to shift the approach of how he's doing this movie, because it doesn't really look like it's gonna happen in that sense. Even with production starting, I still can't see the film finishing up with a budget of $12 million, considering what he's got to do. Even then, even if it, Spawn is a character whose armor comes alive, that has to literally be, one of the main focus on the budget in itself is the computer animation. So how is this possible to flow? How is it gonna? So how is this possible? How is it possible that this translation is gonna flow so easily to the big screen like that? That's really, like, I don't know, man. It's really taking a big risk for me, and like I said, it's his. And the only thing is that it's his creation, it's his property, it's his 100%. He doesn't have to take shit from anybody. He can dictate the way he wants to dictate how the creation of his project goes. And that's another thing also, is like, but have we really seen Todd McFarland really directing things? Like, I'm a little skeptical about that. That's another thing about him being behind the lens, mainly himself. That kind of really just puts a different spin onto it. So it's like, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I hope I hope there's somebody in the industry that's a really big higher up, that he's close friends with, can give him some really serious pointers, like good pointers, so as to how that he doesn't have another catastrophe on his hand. Because I know he's been wanting to get this movie off the ground for a long time, especially after how things didn't turn out the way he wanted it to with the first go around. But playing these dangerous risks with the movie like that and a property like that just really could come out and hit him, and hurt him a lot more than what he imagines it could have. And I really wouldn't like that to happen to Mr. McFarland any old way. But definitely, yeah. So that being said, hopefully we'll see what the end result is. Hopefully it's good, But I kind of doubt it, honestly, you know. So with that being said, hey, I wanted to talk up real quick about one of the holiday movies that are coming up. I know that's holiday movie season, and I know that you guys basically like a lot. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was raised in a religious household, so I really wasn't big on holiday movies. So I can't tell you guys exactly uh, how I really feel about catching the whole spirit of things. But with that being said, I do understand the importance of these features and how they're needed through the seasons, of course, because a lot of people really rely on them, and it's. But one of the main favorite, I guess, the only holiday features you got, I could really can what Halloween, and but no, one of my actually my favorite Thanksgiving and slash holiday Christmas movie, I'd have to say is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Steve Martin and John Candy. That's a classic, man. That movie deserves complete review. I remember watching that movie when I was a kid, and remembering how Steve Martin flipped out of on the woman from the car rental agency, and it's a pretty awesome feature, man. It's definitely one of John Candy's greatest performances ever of all time, as well as Steve Martin. Steve Martin is hilarious, and the two of them are just this comedic dynamic duo that's just out of this world. But as far as holiday movies are concerned, that's definitely up there for me. I think, like I said, I'm not a big fan of holiday movies. I'm not a big fan of any kind of Christmas or whatever the case may be. I haven't, Miracle on 34th Street, or I did see A Christmas Story. I did. I've seen it once or twice, and actually, I've seen it a few times when I was a kid. I haven't seen it recently as an adult, and rightfully so. I just don't have the interest to watch it now. Sorry, but I'm not a big fan of holiday movies. I say, and it's just, if unless the movie really revolves around a certain day, like, what I'm saying, like there's something going on, but it's just so happening that the setting happens to be like, oh, let's the story takes place and it's in a certain town. Oh, and it's Christmas. Then that makes then that's cool or whatever. Like as long as it's not in your face constantly or whatever the kid as long as it's not being worn out as a holiday feature, then that's awesome. Like I think honestly, my definition of a holiday movie varies. That I think it differs quite vastly from a lot of the general movie watching public. But to me, like let's say one of my favorite holiday movies, I guess, also, if you want to throw it into the fray, Batman Returns. Yeah, because the whole movie takes place around Christmas, even though it's Batman, Penguin, and Catwoman fighting each other, but, it's during Christmas. So, so you have that. And then, that's pretty much it. And of course, Home Alone, which I'm not gonna front, I was a huge fan of even when I was a kid. I was a big fan of the Home Alone movies, both part one and two. But like I said, I was very low. Holiday movies with me are very low key. I'm just like I'm not a fan of it like that. I don't go hunting for it. So whenever I have one that actually does, that's that's I hold it very dear to my heart, like that. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, as well as Batman Returns, and Die Hard, I guess. And there's quite a few out there. Gremlins also is another one. So these are all to me considerably holiday films. And I know quite a bit of it. The movie theater near my house actually is going to be playing a lot of old holiday features throughout the month because they do have that flashback cinema that occurs every Sunday and Wednesday. So this whole month there's going to be nothing but that. So that's going to blow. But so I guess that's where I'm going to really utilize my Hulu membership. But yeah, man, that was an awesome feature. And then you gotta Planes, Trains, and Automobiles really had not just the comedic aspect, but it had such a it had heart. The moments there was a few scenes where there's a scene with John Candy that literally rips your heart out. I don't care if you're a big tall I don't care how tough you are, but it's one of those. But Yeah, man, definitely. What's your favorite holiday movie? Whatever, whenever the festivities kick off, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever, then Easter. Who gives a damn? Who gives a shit? What's your favorite holiday movies, guys? What's going on? So, yeah, that's about it, fellas. That's about it. So I guess I'm just gonna close this episode out. I'd like to thank you guys once again for writing out with me and taking the time out to have this discussion. But you know where the comment sections is at. If you have any questions, suggestions, or comments you want to make, leave them there definitely, so we can have an opportunity to talk. Tell me, how do you feel about the Spawn movie reboot? What do you think about that budget, man? Is it really, you think it's going to affect the delivery of the story, or you think it won't matter much? And as far as the holiday movies concerned, also that leaves open for debate to you guys. Also, you know what I'm saying. I already told y'all what my favorites were. What's yours? So until next time, guys, make sure you stay safe. Have a happy Thanksgiving with the rest of your family. Finish eating up those leftovers, and I'll see you around then. Take care of yourself.